Good morning, ladies, gentlemen, and others who shall remain nameless. Yeah, I should probably get a haircut. I probably should. Oh, God. Yeah. But I don't want to. Okay. Anywho, I have to go to work, so I can't stay on for very long here. Suffice to say that I've had a very good week. Yeah, I have had a very good week so far. Had a lady friend up to visit for a few days. And before that, I hosted my mother's 80th birthday party right here in the backyard. Yes, we did that. That was great. Anyway. Oh, wow. It has been good. Owning my own home has been good. I enjoy it. Oh, God. Had a bit of acid reflux last night. Yeah, it still happens. It's not as bad as it used to be, but yeah, you know. Yeah. Well. Oh. So yes, I'm still a socialist. That is to say, I still believe in the importance of having social programs that help people. And yes, I do want my tax dollars, including my property tax dollars, to go towards helping people who need help, helping people who are at a very severe disadvantage in life. I still support public health care, and I still support public roads and public education, because I am still a socialist. That didn't change just because I own a house. And I'm still a labor communist, which means that I still believe that labor unions are absolutely necessary and that workers' rights need to be protected. That didn't change just because I own a house. Labor communism does not prohibit me from owning a house. It prohibits me from owning 500 houses and then sitting on those houses, keeping them empty, and writing them off as a tax write-off. That's what labor communism forbids. It doesn't forbid me from owning a business. It forbids me from owning 1,000 businesses and treating my workers like dirt. That's what labor communism forbids. And yes, there are squirrels behind me. You can see them right above my head. Yeah. Labor communism and labor socialism are very closely related to each other. And yes, they both hinge on the importance of protecting the rights of workers, including the right to own a house, the right to own a restaurant, the right to own a store, the right to own a theater, the right to own a bar. Those are all rights guaranteed, as well as the right to own your own toothbrush and your own pots and pans. Yeah. Communism doesn't mean 1,000 people sharing a toothbrush. It means one person owning a toothbrush and another person owning another toothbrush. And nobody owns all the toothbrushes and distributes them as they please. Yeah. It's about getting rid of monopolies. There's private property and there's personal property. Private property, my house, my toothbrush, my restaurant. I don't actually own a restaurant, but yeah, my restaurant. That's personal property. Private property is my park, my highway, my school, my hospital. Things that the public needs that I could withhold from the public unless they choose to pay me. Yeah. Yeah, that's the stuff that should be public. Roads, schools, hospitals, etc. Those should be public. They should not be private. The difference between private property, public property, personal property. Yeah, the difference. Some things are meant to be public. Some things are meant to be personal. Some things are meant to be private. Let's clearly differentiate them and not allow a handful of billionaires to privatize what is necessarily public, i.e., parks, schools, hospitals, roads, sidewalks, etc. Let's keep those public and fund them with tax revenue from taxes that everybody pays fairly. Fair taxation. That's another platform of labor communism. From each according to their ability, to each according to their need, and if your ability is to pay $1 billion a year in taxes, then you should pay $1 billion a year in taxes. Yeah. Yes, I do believe that all take-home pay above $1 billion should be taxed at 100%. So if you make $1 billion and $1, you pay $1. If you make $2 billion, you pay $1 billion in taxes. But if you make $1,000, you pay 0 taxes. If you pay $100, you make 0 taxes. It's all based on that one number, 1 billion. Anything above 1 billion, you pay 100% on. Anything below that 1 billion, you don't pay anything on. That's the billionaire tax, and that's a good idea. It is a good idea. And the only way to get out of it is to take all the money you made above 1 billion and invest it in the public. You can invest it in the community, or you can be taxed. I think that's a good idea. Because, let's face it, I would rather see billionaires pay the wages of their workers than see them stuff it in an offshore account and use a little bit of the interest to pay a tax lawyer to prove to a government why they shouldn't have to pay taxes, and why they shouldn't have to pay their workers, and why they shouldn't have to pay for the roads they use, and why they shouldn't have to pay for everything they benefit from. Yeah. I mean, let's face it, the rest of us have to pay for it. My taxes go to pay for roads. Why shouldn't a billionaire's taxes go to pay for roads? Good question, huh? Yeah. Labor socialism, labor communism. In both cases, workers have rights. In both cases, the owner class has responsibilities as well as rights. And in both cases, yes, the public is the militia. An armed populace, very important part of both labor socialism and labor communism. Armed public militia of ordinary workers. Yeah. We're not here to take your guns. We're here to make sure that everybody has access to one firearm. Everybody comes in on weekends and does a refresher course on how to properly use that firearm, and to engage in a little bit of physical exercise, and every few months goes out on maneuvers. Yeah. And the rest of the time, our uniforms will hang in our closets, or our wives and girlfriends will hang their uniforms as well, And we will mock each other for not quite fitting in the uniform anymore. Yeah. 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 Labor socialism, labor communism, it's all the idea that workers should have rights. Workers should be protected by laws, protected from bad working conditions, wage theft, wage gouging, price gouging, rent gouging. Yeah, that's another big one. Yeah, that roads, parks, schools, and hospitals should be public, with everybody having access to quality health care. And no, that doesn't mean that doctors are going to be slaves. It means that doctors are going to be paid wages which are fair and reasonable. And the money to pay for all this is generated through a system of fair taxation, where, yes, from each according to their ability. The billionaires pay more and pay a bigger proportion than ordinary people do, simply because they can absorb that kind of expense. Yeah. There's a reason that there was an economic boom at the time that the rich were taxed at 80 to 85% of their income. It's because the rich were taxed at 80 to 85% of their income. It's literally the reason that the Western world was able to finance enormous wars, enormous armies, enormous empires, and enormous programs, including huge social programs. It's because we taxed the rich. We need to get back to that. Tax the rich. Tax the fucking rich. If you think they can't afford it, ask yourself if you can afford it. Because if the rich are not being taxed, who pays for all the things that you need access to? Yeah, that's you. And you pay a bigger proportion when the rich are not taxed. Now, of course, the conservative solution today is just get rid of public health care, public schools, public hospitals, public roads. Just privatize everything. Privatize the parks. Turn everything into a money-making venture owned by a private individual. And those of us who are the working poor, the proletariat, we'll just find a way to scare up the money to pay for it. And when price gouging kicks in, well, we're disposable. Yeah. Yeah, you think your underpaid job working at a factory now is hard? Wait until the next step of unrestricted capitalism, where you have to bid for your job every morning against all the other workers by promising that you can do it for less than the next guy. Yeah. That's called right to work, where the workers just stand there and say, I can do it for less. He says he can do it for $10 an hour. I say I can do it for $9.50 an hour. Yeah, well, I can do it for $9.25. Yeah, well, I can do it for $9 an hour. And you bid down until you're basically all saying, well, I can do it for 5 cents a day. And at the point where you're saying I can do it for 5 cents a day, there's really no point in doing it. You're going to lose your trailer. You're going to be out on the street. And that is the unrestricted capitalism that you are cheering for. Yeah. Company towns, like what Jeff Bezos wants to bring back. Basically, your wages are set to be a little bit less than the minimum needed to pay for everything you need to survive at the company store. You live in company housing that you rent. You buy your groceries at a company store. You buy your clothes at a company store. Everything is sold to you by the company, and everything is planned so that you make a little bit less than what you need to survive. Then you have to go to the company bank and borrow money to get yourself through the next week. And at that point, you're no longer working to make a living. You're working to service your debt. And that's what the company store did, and that's why the company store was the reason for so many workers' revolts in the American South and Midwest at the beginning of the 20th century. American socialist and communist uprisings. Workers who were tired of living just to service their debt to the company store. You know that song, I Owe My Soul to the Company Store? You load 16 tons, and what do you get? Another day older and deeper in debt. St. Peter, don't you call me 'cause I can't go. I owe my soul to the company store. Yeah. That's a true story. Workers weren't working to make money. They were working to service their debt to the company store. That's what Jeff Bezos has brought back. That's unrestricted capitalism. Private health care, company stores, workers getting screwed over at every stop, and the rich just getting richer and richer and richer and richer and richer, while the poor starve to death in the streets. And to keep your job, you have to bid against your friends, your neighbors, your fellow workers, to prove that you can do it for less than the next guy. That's unrestricted capitalism. Yeah, anyways, I'm done. Ta-ta, take care, be well. I have to go to work where I am paid a fair wage, and I don't have to worry about wage gouging or kickbacks. Ta-ta.